Hey everybody, welcome to the SilverSilk and More channel. I am so delighted to have you here. I've got a really cool project planned for you today. I thought that these earrings are a knockout. I had seen them from my friend Danielle Wicks, who designed them, and I instantly fell in love. They're so dainty. They use three needle chain in the most crafty, creative, expensive way, I think, just the way that they look. And you can use a lot of your own orphan beads in this design. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So I'm going to flip over to this picture, and here is what we're going to make. This is the dangle and drop pearl earrings in a gold colorway. And I thought what would be a fun experiment is to do the same exact design, but in a different silver silk colorway. And I'll show you guys what I mean as we move into the project. But per usual, we are going to go ahead and move into our tools and materials for our earrings today. So I have got a pair of chain nose pliers from a company called Wubbers. I've got my Lindstrom cutters that look like this. They're extremely powerful. They cut through almost any kind of stringing material or even wire. And I've used them for 10 years and they are still sharp to this day. It's phenomenal. And then I've got a pair of round nose pliers also by Wubbers. And I just have a bottle of Loctite glue, which we'll use to glue in the three needle chain into our um, silver silk end caps. So have those things out to the side. And let's get into our materials. So starting with, of course, our three needle chain. And the design example used gold, but I thought, I'm kind of in an amethyst purple kind of mood, so why not play with it and see what beautiful design we can make with it today. Three needle chain is it's a unique name for sure. The name is actually derived from the idea or the creation of the three needle chain, which is it takes three latch hook needles that simultaneously sort of knit the wire, singular wire. So just a single strand of wire that is as thin as human hair, and it knits it into this beautiful chain that's sort of drawn down into this really delicate, beautiful look and feel. It's got an amazing texture. It's sold as a 5-foot spool, and I've got 26 colors that you guys can experiment with for any given design. What's great about this design is that you'll really just need a snippet of it. And by that, I mean probably around an inch to an inch and a half, just depending on the length of what you want your earring to be. So I'm going to go ahead and actually just cut it right off, and I'll have it out to the side. When you do cut this type of wire or any knitted wire from silver silk, sometimes you might have these little wire remnant bits that are at the ends. I tend to just pluck those out because they get in the way of any sort of gluing, crimping, tucking in, whatever you're doing to the ending using the silver silk findings. It's always great to kind of precondition your knitted wire and just get those little wire remnant bits and pieces out of the way just to make a cleaner finish. And so I went ahead and just plucked that off, and I'm going to just set that to the side. And we've got our 2 millimeter cord cap. Speaking of silver silk findings, I'm going to use a copper colorway. I feel like copper is a color that is underused and overlooked, but not today. I am feeling all the bright copper. It's going to be a great accent color with purple. But these are my 2 millimeter end caps for three needle, specifically made and designed to hold up to 4 strands, 5 if you really want to squeeze it in there, but certainly 4. You shouldn't have too terrible of a time squeezing all of those in there. And honestly, it'll give you a very tight hold. All you do is just drop some tight Loctite glue right into the hole, and then just press in your three needle chain, as you'll see in a future step here. But aside from the fact that they're super easy to use, they've also got my knitted wire printed pattern on it. And this one happens to, again, be the bright copper color. It's probably a little bit more apparent on the darker colors that I carry. Comes in 6 different binding colors. What is it? The bright copper, silver, dark rhodium, um, antique copper, and antique gold, and of course, bright gold as well. So you get lots of different options for finishing any type of chain that you're looking to, sort of either mix up the colors or do something that is all silver or all gold. The options are certainly always there. And you'll need a total of 4 of these. Now, one thing I also should mention is that these are tarnish resistant. The base metal that's used in these findings is brass, and it has 5 layers of plating on it, ensuring that it's going to keep its beautiful finish forever and ever. Alrighty, we have got some 4 millimeter jump rings. These jump rings are actually tinier than my usual jump rings. One, I should just be transparent with this, but one reason why I changed the colorway to this is because I actually didn't have any 4 millimeter jump rings in gold. Otherwise, I could have just had a gold piece. But I decided, you know what, this is sort of a make it moment, right? I just decided to grab whatever jump rings I could find, which happened to be the copper ones, and then changed my entire palette. But I'm not mad about it. I think this is gonna just string up well together. I sort of have half of one finished, and I can see the copper already being like, ooh. So what makes this 4 millimeter, by the way, is the inner diameter. So when we're looking at a jump ring, the outer diameter from the very tip of the end to the very tip of the beginning, that is actually 5 millimeters. The 4 millimeter is specifically referring to the inner diameter, which is the inside distance of our jump ring. So these are quite small, but they are very effective for this project. It kind of just looks like jewelry chain when they're all linked together, and it's going to work quite perfectly. What else? We've got a pair of earring hooks, which are also from SilverSilk and more. These are just missing my backs on them, but whenever you guys buy the earrings from the store, they do have the little acrylic backs to them. And then we've got our 1 inch head pins, or in this case, no, wait, let's see, our 2 inch eye pins, sorry. Got my materials here mixed up. So I just have a couple of those eye pins in 22 gauge wire. And then we've got our 1 inch, well, in this case, 2 inch head pins. And honestly, I like having the longer head pins for wire wraps in general. They're just easier, they're more forgiving. Yeah, there's going to be a little bit of waste, but that's okay. You're going to get a better project finish out of it just because you're more comfortable with using a longer length of wire as opposed to trying to, fidget through trying to get a short piece of wire wrapped around. And again, these came from the SilverSilk store. It has the same custom plating and fine as the other findings do. And then we've got some freshwater pearls. I'm sure a lot of us hoard these. Like I love pearls. I don't use them very often, but any excuse that I get to, you can surely bet I will. We've got decorative beads, which are these guys right here. Just a nice like collection. These are probably orphan beads from a leftover project and worked out really well together to make this sort of whimsical star heart pattern. And then we've got crim covers, which look like this. Now these are optional, and I'll cover at the end a little bit more in depth of why these were used. And so you can either have these out for the project or you don't have to. Another alternative to this would be simply using a size 6 seed bead, which looks like this. It's got about 1.5 millimeters sized inner diameter hole. So it's perfect initially to string onto the 3-needle chain. All right, let's start constructing our earring. We are going to start with step 1, which is gluing in our end caps onto our chain. So I went ahead and cut a length that works for me. And what I'm going to do is grab my Loctite glue. We went ahead and also cleaned up the ends as you saw me do earlier. You can either put the glue directly onto the SilverSilk chain, just here at the tip. You simply just squeeze the 2 end blue, I don't know, squeezy things at the side of the glue. Can't find my words today. And you just want like a little dollop of glue on there. And all you do then is just insert it in. Now, the one thing you do have to be careful of is just an excessive amount of glue. The reason for that is that if it starts to bleed out onto the binding, you're just going to get this really gross, like white crust that happens whenever glue dries. So try and use an appropriate amount to just fill up the inside of the end cap. And it dries pretty fast, actually. I would still prefer to give it, I don't know, maybe like a nice 15-minute um, time to like really dry up. But here I've got one sort of put together already that I'm just gonna measure and trim so that I have a matching pair here. Again, we're just gonna go ahead and clean up our end here. And I think if you wanted to even experiment with the design of this earring, you don't have to just use one chain. You can use a couple different colors and really, I don't know, make this into a very colorful, color bursting piece if you wanted, just with the type of beads and materials that you're using. Or you could go completely the opposite and be very monochrome, use all silver findings, all silver chains, all like silver beads that you can find. I mean, that choice is absolutely up to you, whatever you are feeling you are wanting to make. I say bring it to life. All right, I'm just going to tip that right in. These are, oops, it just came right out. So we'll just do that again. There we go. And they're about the same size, which is perfect. So I'm just going to set this one to dry and I'll construct the other earring probably off camera on my own time. But we've got one here that's already sort of put together and glued in place. So we've got our first component pretty much finished. All right, let's get our next component put together. So I'm going to grab my eye pin, which looks like this. And we can now string in our beads, whatever arrangement we want. I'm just going to go off the picture and grab my little tray of beads there. And I'm going to go ahead and string on. Oh, actually, I've got some like that out right here. There we go. We're going to string on a star. Isn't that really pretty? That's going to really complement the purple that we're using with our chain. Just fabulous. And then we've got a round pearl. It's not really round, I guess it's more of a potato pearl. And then we've got a little CZ bead in peach, and then a little heart. Okay. And the idea here is to create a wire wrap loop after we've strung our beads. So I'm going to grab my chain nose pliers, and I'm going to go ahead and just fold that little piece of wire right down over my chain nose pliers. And it should point completely away from me so that whenever you turn it on its side, it is going to be a 90-degree angle. At that point, you'll want to grab your round nose pliers. And I'm going to use the very tip of my pliers because I want a very small loop. And I'm just going to go ahead and work my wire right back around to me. Then I'm gonna just switch spots and have my top part of my plier above my loop, and then the bottom half of my plier right inside of the circle that I'm creating with that wire. And then you kind of just twist that wire back around. Once you've done that, you're pretty much set up. I've got a very little tiny bit of wire there to work with, but I think I can do it. I'm going to grasp the entire loop with my chain nose pliers and then just use my round nose pliers to work this wire around the stem of my wire wrap loop. Once I've gotten to a good point there, I can kind of squeeze this in if I can. Let's see. No. Okay. it is wanting to turn on me. So what I think I'm going to do is just trim it there and then tuck in what's left. Sometimes that happens, and that's okay, especially when that wire is short. Now, you can use craft wire if you don't have eye pins on hand. You'd simply just make an eye pin on one side and then just use the rest of the wire to create your wire wrap loop, which is pretty much what I did here. But you know what? I was overall pretty successful, so I'm not mad about it. And you're going to need two of those components. Obviously, we're going to have two earrings, so I'm going to have those out to the side there. You can already see the construction of this happening right before your eyes, which is super exciting. And then what we are going to do is make a bunch of pearl dangles. So what this is a combination of wire wrap pearls and our jump rings. Okay, we're going to make one wire wrap pearl together, and then I'm going to show you how to connect it all together. So I'm going to grab a head pin, grab a pearl, and we're basically going to repeat the same steps as we did earlier. We are going to grab our chain nose pliers, give that wire a nice bend right over the nose of the pliers, grab our round nose pliers and work that wire back around and then loop it through. And then wrap the rest of the extra bit of wire there around the stem of our wire wrap loop. Now you can either leave the loop right on the pliers and just use your chain nose pliers to help you wrap that around. I find it actually uncomfortable to do that. I've seen many folks and designers attempt this technique quite successfully. I prefer to actually take it off, use my chain nose pliers to grip it, and then use my round nose pliers to help myself wrap that around. So I guess what I'm trying to say is there's no right or wrong way. It's picking a style and technique of what's comfortable for you and executing on the best technique that you can possibly do to achieve a very clean look. So there's my wire wrap loop, and I sort of showed you both ways. But I also made a bunch of them. So here are four, and I've also went ahead and connected another set of them together. But we're going to connect one set for us together. So I'm also going to grab this and start to just stack all this stuff together. So let's get to our next step, which is connecting our pearls. Now, to each jump ring, and we're just going to do 4 pearls on each earring, but you're going to go ahead and connect 1 pearl per jump ring, just like that. So what you'll do for the second one is grab a jump ring, open it. You're going to grab the previous pearl that you just strung on the jump ring, as well as a pearl. Okay, so you're basically building on the chain. Here we'll grab another one. Okay, open it. String your jump ring from previous pearl before, and go ahead and attach a new pearl. And we'll do this one more time. I think the tough part should be finding where that chain begins, because it's going to look like a lovely little cluster, and it should. There we go. Okay, those are all now connected together. And we can then move on to our next step, which is basically connecting everything that we've made together. And so you grab that last jump ring, find the seam again, which is always a tough part with these sorts of jump rings that have perfectly blunt ends and are seamless. Okay, you could string that right through. I'm going to actually grab my pliers to help me attach all this stuff together. So We'll attach those bottom ones together. I love this color combination, by the way. These are going to be dynamite earrings for sure. And we will connect these together. Okay, there we go. Look at that. Super easy, isn't it? And for the top part, we are going to go ahead and open that simple loop from under the star, connect the top cap, and close it back up. Same thing with this one. We'll just open it up, string our cap through, and close it. And finally, the last step is to add our earring wires. So we can open this up. I don't think that the loop is going to quite go through that little ball of the earring, but we can kind of just slip it right through quite easily into our wire wrap loop there. Now, as I mentioned, especially if you've got SilverSilk scraps, this doesn't have to be as long if you're really not into the whole shoulder duster earring look and vibe. But you can actually trim this down to your liking and still achieve about the same look. Or maybe you don't have as many beads at the top. Maybe you just have the one star or nothing. You can always just leave it, without all the beads and just have it as a drop with the pearls, which would still look equally beautiful, I think. Very dainty. So let me go ahead and attach this one together. And that is the construction of the earrings in a nutshell. We've got this beautiful look put together. Now, the additional bonus part of this is the crimp covers. So if you're looking for a way to embellish the 3 needle, because all we did really was just kind of leave it naked and bare. And we really let the color show through is probably more accurate. But more is more for some of us. And if you're wanting to embellish it, then you can certainly use a crimp cover as an idea. So what you do is you take your crimp cover and you simply just insert your 3 needle chain directly right into it. And then you can use your pliers to squeeze it so that you have sort of this floating bead on the chain itself. And it just kind of stacks nicely right on top of either the cap, or you can have it sort of free floating in the actual like 3 needle chain. And that again is just something that is purely your call. It is another design idea. um and for your projects, you guys call the shots on it. So absolutely one way to embellish. The other way that I wanted to show you is if you're wanting to just string some seed beads right onto the chain before you glue the end caps, you can certainly use the 3 needle chain directly to just string it right through. I think using a size 6 seed bead is the way to go. It gives you about the same look as what the, crimp cover is trying to achieve. And the size 6 seed beads, you might have them in your stash, or you might be in the mood to go shopping. Who knows? But you'd have some options there. So I will leave that to you guys and whatever you decide to do and magic you decided to bring up. But I do want you to show us in the Silver Silk Silkies Facebook group. There, the inspiration and magic is always alive. You guys are amazing with your creative projects, and I just look forward to seeing what you guys make next. And we invite you, for those of you that are not part of the group, to come and join us. But that's our project in a nutshell. I had an incredibly fun time putting these together and coming up with this, like, I don't know, tutorial and instructions and stuff with the incredible Danielle Wicks, who thought of this project, is just phenomenal. And I hope that you will also, if you enjoyed the comment, will subscribe to the channel and tell your creative friends about it and give this video a giant thumbs up. All that stuff is so important for the health and the continuation of this channel. And then you can also follow us over on Instagram, where we have lots of carousels and we're coming up with new reels and just fun stuff with SilverSilk and trying to bring you guys as much inspiration as we possibly can for your creativity. But until the next time, you guys stay happy, healthy, creative, and I'm sure I will see you over in the SilverSilk Silkies Facebook group. So enjoy the afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world, and I will see you guys again soon. Bye.